Dear students, myself Dr. Neeru, Assistant Professor in Zoology, Government College Kalka, under the aegis of Director General Higher Education Haryana, will discuss with you Petromyzon Part 2 today. The blood vascular system. The blood vascular system is well developed in cyclostomes. It consists of blood, heart, arterial system, and venous system. Blood is red in color and it is formed of blood plasma and blood corpuscles. Blood corpuscles are two types in Petromyzon. Erythrocytes, which are also called as red blood corpuscles. These are nucleated, circular, and they contain hemoglobin. That's why its blood is red in color. Leukocytes, which are also called as white blood corpuscles, they are also nucleated and they are like the lymphocytes of the higher vertebrates. Hemopoietic organs, any blood cells forming organs, are spiral valves, kidneys, and spiral cords. Heart of lamprey is an S-shaped structure and it is present behind the gills. Heart of Petromyzon is covered by the pericardium and it is also supported by a cartilaginous plate. It has 4 chambers. One is sinus venosus, which is a thin-walled sac. It is present between the auricle and ventricle. और क्या रोल होता है sinus venosus का? To collect the blood from the body. It collects the blood from the body by two ductus cuveri, anterior cardinal vein and hepatic vein. और ये ओपन कैसे होती है एट्रियम में? Auricle is also called as atrium. So it opens into the atrium by sino-auricular aperture. And this aperture is guarded by a valve which is called as sino-auricular valve. Auricle क्या है? It is a thin-walled sac and it opens into the ventricle, and in between the auricle and ventricle is present a small atrioventricular aperture which is also guarded by a anteroventricular valve. Ventricle. Ventricle is comparatively thick-walled and irregular in shape, and there are some thick cords are present on the interior side of the ventricular wall which are called as chordae tendineae, and they open into the fourth part of the heart which is called as conus arteriosus. It is poorly developed in the lamprey. It has only one pair of semilunar valves to prevent the backflow of blood from the ventral aorta. The peculiar feature of blood circulation is lamprey is that only deoxygenated blood passes through the heart, and this type of blood circulation is called as single type of blood circulation. When in a heart, oxygenated and deoxygenated both blood circulate, this is called as double type of circulation, but in it, because it is a primitive vertebrate, it has only one type of circulation, which is the single circulation. Now we will discuss its arterial system. Arteries of the lamprey, they carry the deoxygenated blood from the heart to the gills and supply oxygenated blood from the gills to the whole body. And three main blood vessels हैं, three main type of arteries हैं, ventral aorta, dorsal aorta and carotid arteries. This is a diagram of the arterial system of the lamprey. Ventral aorta क्या है? It arises from the conus arteriosus, and the base of this aorta is a little bit expanded, dilated, and here it is called as bulbous arteriosus. और ventral aorta से क्या निकलती हैं? 7 pairs of afferent branchial arteries. For the 7 pairs of gills, there arises 7 pairs of afferent brachial arteries. They supply to the branchial pouches और वहाँ पर ये arteries breakup हो जाती हैं capillaries में और ventral aorta से deoxygenated blood in से gills में जाता है और from the gills वहाँ पर ये ब्लड ऑक्सीजनेटेड हो जाता है और वहाँ पर से ऑक्सीजनेटेड ब्लड जो है इट इज़ कलेक्टेड बाय द 7 पेयर्स ऑफ इफरेंट ब्रेंकियल आर्टरीज और ये जो इफरेंट ब्रेंकियल आर्टरीज हैं दे ओपन इनटू द लेटरल डोर्सल एओर्टा 2 लेटरल डोर्सल एओर्टा होते हैं उनमें ये इफरेंट ब्रेंकियल आर्टरी ओपन अप हो जाती हैं और ये लेटरल एओर्टा बैकवर्ड रन करते करते गिल्स के बिहाइंड एक डोर्सल एओर्टा बना देते हैं मर्ज होके तो 2 lateral dorsal aorta merge into a 1 dorsal aorta and dorsal aorta supplies different segmental arteries to myotomes and different body parts like gut, kidney and gonads. Segmental arteries also have some chromaffin cells which secrete an adrenal-like substance. Now the 2 lateral dorsal aorta move upward in the head region and divide to form the external carotids. Head region में carotid artery supply करती हैं और वहाँ पर ये divide हो जाती हैं cerebral और ethmonasal arteries में और वहाँ से इनकी एक और branch जाती है internal carotids और velar artery में. And one artery जो है hyoid, it supplies to hyoid apparatus. Now the venous system. Venous system consists of different veins and different type of sinuses. Veins are posterior cardinal veins, anterior cardinal veins, portal system and branchial sinuses. So we will take them one by one. Posterior cardinal veins क्या हैं? ये tail region से blood collect करती हैं as a caudal vein. और कॉर्डल वेन आगे आके 2 पोस्टीरियर कॉर्डल वेन्स जो हैं ये डिवाइड हो जाती हैं 2 पोस्टीरियर कार्डिनल वेन्स में तो कॉर्डल वेन टेल रीजन से ब्लड को लेकर आएगी और आगे आके डिवाइड हो जाएगी 2 पोस्टीरियर कॉर्डिनल वेन्स में और आगे दे विल जॉइन टू एंटीरियर कार्डिनल वेन्स विच विल कम फ्रॉम द हेड एंड इन बिटवीन दे विल फॉर्म द कॉमन कार्डिनल which open into the ductus qveri और in between जो posterior cardinal veins हैं on the way they also receive the veins from kidney, gonads and myotomes. Anterior cardinal veins they collect the blood from the anterior region of the body. One is the inferior jugular vein. It collects the blood from the musculature of buccal funnel and gill pouches. And both the anterior cardinal veins join to the posterior cardinal vein to form the common cardinal and open to the ductus qveri and which carry blood to the sinus venosus which I have told you. Now the portal system. Renal portal system is absent in lampreys. Only one portal system is there. Network of veins हैं which are called the portal system. Hepatic portal vein is there. Hepatic portal system is there. They इनमें से hepatic portal vein जो है it collects the blood from the various parts of the alimentary canal and carry that blood to the liver through the heart and from this liver this blood is carried to sinus venosus by the hepatic veins. What are the branchial sinuses? These are the small sinuses collecting blood from the gill region. Ventral branchial sinus present on the ventral side of the gill, inferior branchial sinus present below the gill, superior branchial sinus present above the gill pouches. So all these sinus are interconnected and they all drain blood to the anterior cardinals. Now we will discuss the nervous system. Nervous system is well developed in the lamprey and the main parts of the nervous system are brain, spinal cord, cranial nerves, spinal nerves and autonomic nervous system. Now first of all we will study about the brain. Brain of lamprey is primitive and it is covered by a single mannix. Mannix means membrane. So it is covered by a single membrane which is called as mannix primitiva. Brain is divided into three parts: forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Forebrain, it is the anterior part of the brain and it is divided into three parts: olfactory lobes, cerebral hemisphere and diencephalon. Olfactory lobes, they are the pair of large and widely separated olfactory bulbs. Cerebral hemisphere are the pair of smooth and small lobes present in the forebrain region, and they have the poorly developed corpora striata. The cavities of the cerebral hemisphere are called as lateral or second ventricles. Diencephalon is the comparatively large in lamprey and it has the photosensitive pineal eye. Hypothalamus is also well developed in lamprey and it has lobi inferiors, saccus vacuosus and prominent infundibulum in it. This is the diagram of the brain. One diagram is showing the dorsal view of the brain, which is showing olfactory nerve, olfactory bulb, pineal eye, optic lobes, optic nerve, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Another is the ventral view, which is showing the optic chiasma, olfactory nerve, saccus vasculosus, lobi inferiors, infundibulum of the hypothalamus and the medulla oblongata. Now the midbrain. Midbrain is represented by only two optic lobes and between them is present a membranous plexus, choroid plexus, which is fused with the plexus present over the fourth ventricle of the medulla oblongata. तो midbrain में mainly prominent two optic lobes हैं और एक membranous choroid plexus है और hindbrain में cerebellum and medulla oblongata है. Cerebellum जो है poorly developed है इसमें and it is represented by the transverse band of nerve fibers. And medulla oblongata is a larger and well developed part of the brain and it has large size neurons which are called as Meissner cells. The cavity of the medulla oblongata is called as fourth ventricle. What are the functions of the different parts of the brain? Forebrain is also called as prosencephalon. It is mainly concerned with the sense of smell and light. Midbrain, which is also called as mesencephalon, it is mainly connected to the sense of sight. And hindbrain or rhobencephalon is mainly connected to the acoustic, lateral line system and taste buds, yani mainly for balance purpose during locomotion, for sensory purpose and taste buds. Spinal cord. It is dorsoventrally flattened band-like structure and it is transparent and it is almost non-vascular and no blood vessels are there in the spinal cord. It has a narrow central canal in it and not much developed. The dorsal septum and ventral fissure are absent in this. White matter is also absent, so it is formed of grey matter only. Cranial nerves are present in the lamprey. What are the cranial nerves? The nerves which arise directly from the brain and end in the brain. Brain का जो दूसरा नाम है cranium है, you know this. So the nerves which arise in the brain and end in the brain are called as cranial nerves. Total 10 pairs of cranial nerves are there in the lamprey and each is denoted by a Roman number 1 to 10. Cranial nerve number 1, cranial number 2, 3 इस तरह से 1 to 10 nerves हैं. इसके अलावा it has the spinal nerves. Spinal nerves are those nerves which arise from the spinal cord. When these nerves arise, they have two types of roots, dorsal roots and ventral roots. But these two roots remain separate and they don't join together. Ventral root is motor and it supplies to the myotomes And dorsal nerve root is both sensory as well as motor, and it's supplied to the skin between the myotomes. Autonomic nervous system of lamprey is represented by the sympathetic nervous system, which has only isolated nerve fibers running in both the roots of spinal nerves, and ganglia are absent in the lamprey. Now the sense organs. Sense organs are well developed in the lamprey. First of all, we will discuss the eye. There are three eyes, beside one normal pair of eyes and one is the unpaired eye. So normal paired eyes and third unpaired eyes, which is also called as pineal eye or epiphyseal eye. Paired eye हैं जो, they are of primitive type and they are present in the either side of the head, या head के दोनों side prominent eyes होती हैं जो starting में मैंने बताया था. Eyelids are absent but they are covered by the conjunctiva. आई बाल जो है it is roughly circular है और it has a very thin membrane which is called as sclerotic. कोरोइड और रेटिना जो है, जो वर्टिब्रेट्स में अच्छे डेवलप्ड होते हैं, वो इसमें पुअरली डेवलप्ड है. दिस इज द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ आई. यू कैन सी द राउंडेड कॉर्निया, राउंडेड लेंस, साइज ऑफ प्यूपिल इज आल्सो फिक्स्ड, लेंस इज आल्सो परमानेंटली फिक्स्ड, ciliary apparatus is absent, and coronalis muscles are there which are attached to the outer surface of the cornea. Now the pineal eye. Pineal eye is the part of the pineal apparatus. Pineal apparatus has the two unequally developed sacs, dorsal sac and ventral sac. And this eye has a retina as well as a lens-like structure. Retina जो है which has a sensory cells, pigments and supporting cells, और जो pineal eye और parapineal organs हैं, they are derived from the roof of the brain by the evagination, and they are connected with the epithalamus of the diencephalon part of the brain. And in adults, the function of this pineal apparatus is unknown. It may help in illumination, but जो larval form है Petromyzon की, which is the Ammocytes larva, here pineal eye has a prominent role and it helps them to change their color according to the change in the light. Now, ear. Next sense organ is the ear. Only internal ear is present in the lamprey, which is the auditory and statoreceptor. यानी hearing में भी help करता है और balancing में भी, and this internal ear is called as the membranous labyrinth. It mainly consists of a large sac, the vestibule, and it is divided by a median fold into small anterior chamber which is called as sacculus and posterior larger chamber which is called as utriculus. तो ये जो internal ear है, it is formed of vestibule. Vestibule has two parts, sacculus and utriculus, and there are two semicircular canals in the internal ear which are having on one part ampulla, dilated part है इनका एक part which is called as ampulla, और ampulla में क्या present होता है, एक small granular सा, एक small सा bead जैसा crista. On the posterior end of utriculus एक small attachment है which is called as lagina, and all the chambers here are lined by the cilia. When cilia move, they produce a current in the internal fluid of the ear which is called as endolymph, so it helps in the maintaining the balance of the body. When the changes occur in the endolymph, so these sensory cilia detect the balance and they put a pressure on the sensory spots, and इस तरह से balance is maintained during the locomotion of the petromyzon, and a short endolymphatic duct is also present. Are the olfactory sac. It is a type of a median blind sac and it opens at the tip of the snout with the help of a single round external nostril, and it has no connection with the pharynx. This sac is present below the brain and notochord. Another sense organs are the lateral line sense organs. They are present in very elementary form, and they are present in the form of small patches in the sensory wells and sensory papillae along the lateral lines, and they are exposed to the outer surface. Lateral line receptors are generally connected to 5th and 10th cranial nerves, and these lateral line sense organs detects and locate disturbances in the water current and helps to avoid enemies and search foods. तो ये लेटरल लाइन सेंस ऑर्गन्स एनिमल को हेल्प करते हैं फूड सर्च करने में और एनिमीज को अवॉइड करने में ड्यूरिंग इट्स स्विमिंग. नाउ वी विल स्टडी एक्सक्रीटरी सिस्टम. Organs of excretion in adult lamprey are kidneys. These kidneys are opisthonephric kidneys. They are long, ribbon shaped and present on the dorsal side. And these kidneys are suspended by the mesenteries. And functional unit of kidneys are called as uriniferous tubules. Nephrostome is absent in these kidneys, and along with the uriniferous tubules, fatty and lymphoid tissue is present in the kidneys. Urinary ducts arise from these kidneys, and these ducts are archinephric type, means they are also of primitive type. They are present on the free edge of the each kidney, and each urinary duct opens into the urinogenital sac posteriorly. Urinogenital sac has a pair of openings of urinary ducts and a pair of genital pores. And this urinogenital sinus opens by a conical papilla into the cloaca. Lampreys are mainly ammonotelic in excretion, means the excretory product is ammonia, and these animals secrete the urine continuously. Now we will discuss the reproductive system. In lampreys, sexes are separate but sexual dimorphism is absent, means we can't distinguish male and female lampreys Petromyzon by external morphology. हम एक देख कर नहीं बता सकते कि कौन सा मेल लैम्प्रे और कौन सा फीमेल है. तो sexual dimorphism is not there, and only a single gonad is present. And this differentiation of gonads take place quite late. So जो larval phase है Petromyzon की, Ammocytes larva is hermaphrodite, यानी it has both the sex organs, male as well as females in it. No genital duct is present in lamprey, and gametes are directly discharged into the abdominal cavity, and all the gametes they leave through the genital pores of urinogenital sinus, which I have told you earlier. It has the opening of both anus and this genital pores. Now the male reproductive system. Single testis is present in male, which is formed by the fusion of two testes. It is attached to the dorsal body wall by mesorchium, and testis has many follicles in it which contains the male gametes. Sperms are shed directly into the body. Female reproductive, similarly, one single ovary which is attached to the mid-dorsal body wall by mesovarium, and this ovary is also formed by the fusion of two ovaries. During the breeding season, these ovaries occupy the whole abdominal cavity, and mature ova are shed in the body cavity. Fertilization is mainly external, and eggs are telolacethal. Telolacethal eggs means they have large amount of yolk in them. Cleavage is unequal but holoblastic, means cleavage occur in whole egg. So two types of cleavage cells are formed, micromeres as well as macromeres. And during the gastrulation, invagination process occurs. Blastopore जो है it develops into the anus, and these types of animals are called as deuterostomous animals. The central nervous system is developed by the thickened method in which a solid cord or keel develops. About 21 days after the fertilization, a young larva hatches out, which is called as Ammocetes larva. Now we will discuss about the morphology and habits of Ammocetes larva. It is a freshwater larva, minute and transparent. It hatches in about 3 weeks. And as I have told you earlier, the larval period lasts for 3 to 7 years. ये जो एमोसिटिस लार्वा है, क्योंकि ये इतना लंबा सर्वाइव करता है, तो और इसके फीचर्स जो है काफ़ी ज़्यादा ब्रैंकियोस्टोमा एम्फियोक्सिस जो है एक सिफेलोकॉर्डेट उससे मिलते हैं. तो स्टार्टिंग में जब एमोसिटिस लार्वा को एक सेपरेट जीनस ही मान लिया गया था. आफ्टर ए लॉन्ग टाइम इट वाज डिस्कवर्ड दैट इट इज़ ए लार्वा ऑफ पेट्रोमाइजोन. Larva leaves the nest when about become 15 mm long, and then it form a burrow, U or V-shaped burrow in the sea, and its body is also eel-like and muddy brown in color. You can see here the Ammocetes larva, diagram of Ammocetes larva. It has head which has the oral hood and a pair of eyes which are hidden under the skin. Oral hood is present around the mouth. Mouth is guided by the small and branched denticles. Teeth are absent in it. Pharynx is there, and pharynx has the endostyle in it. There is a velum present between the buccal cavity and pharynx. Trunk has 7 pairs of gill slits and a single dorsal fin. Tail is having caudal fin. Besides this, in the internally liver, bile duct, gallbladder and pronephros kidneys are present, and heart is enclosed in a pericardial cavity. Now next step is metamorphosis. After a prolonged time span, about 3 to 7 years, this Ammocetes larva undergoes metamorphosis. As you know, we are studying Petromyzon marinus, which is a sea inhabitant, and this larva is a freshwater. So there are different habits which changes. Filter feeding habit of this larva changes to sanguivorous habit of adult. So epidermal teeth are formed, and buccal funnel and tongue are there. Endostyle present in the larva changes to thyroid gland. Velum is reduced, and it generally reduced to the opening of pharynx only. Esophagus separates from the pharynx. Gill develop gill pouches. Paired eye become uncovered and functional. Nostril they shift to the top of the head, and nasohypophyseal sac grows. Pericardial cavity completely separate from the coelom, and spinal cord become flattened. Pronephric kidneys of the larva changes to mesonephric or opisthonephric kidney of adult. A continuous median fins they change into dorsal and caudal fins, and it leaves the burrow and then migrate from freshwater to marine habitat. And it is quite significant larval stage. And what is the significance of this larval stage? It is of great phylogenetic or evolutionary significance because it fills the gap between cephalochordates and higher vertebrates. It is similar to Branchiostoma, which is of cephalochordata in structure and mode of life. So it shows that evolution of organs like thyroid gland etc. occur from endostyle. Thank you.